Okay, let's dive into something that's genuinely fascinating and, frankly, a little counterintuitive. I mean, we live in a world where performance is basically currency, right?
Totally. Every single public moment is usually curated or rehearsed or...
I'm desperately trying to go viral.
Right.
Exactly. But our deep dive today focuses on a 17-year-old who has captured this widespread admiration precisely because she seems to be doing none of those things. Vivienne Jolie-Pitt.
It's a really compelling case study because what the sources reveal is a story of, and they use these words, authentic presence and quiet grace.
Right.
And that feels entirely radical in the, the hypervisual landscape of celebrity culture. She's not being praised for her glamour or career moves or status.
No.
The praise is strictly for her grounding, her self-possession.
And that's our mission today. We're going to unpack the sources to understand why. Why does this incredible lack of performance, this quietness, feel so radical?
Yeah, and what does her journey tell you, the listener, about the inherent challenges of growing up under what the sources call an international microscope?
We're looking for the power in restraint.
Exactly. It's about dissecting that difference between, say, visibility and true presence. And to do that, you really have to start at the beginning. You have to understand the context she was born into.
Let's start right there with that context, because her background is the foundation for this whole narrative. She was born in 2008.
With her twin brother, Knox.
To Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. And when we say her life was public property from day one, that's an understatement.
A massive understatement. The first photos of the twins were reportedly sold for an astronomical sum. I think it was, what, $14 million?
$14 million. It made her a global commodity from the moment she took her first breath.
In a way no child chooses, as one source puts it.
And that intensity, that scrutiny, that's the baseline we have to start from.
You have to. She was monetized before she was even really named to the public. That level of exposure creates, enormous pressure for any child of fame, especially as they get into their teenage years.
Of course.
Most celebrity kids, if you look historically, they either retreat completely from the public eye or they lean all the way in.
They launch a career, an active social media presence, a brand.
Exactly. You see it all the time. But what's so fascinating about Vivienne is that she appears to have been, largely shielded from that whole machine.
The sources really consistently emphasize this contrast. They say VJP has remained outside the noise.
Protected. Oh. She's been allowed to grow at her own pace and essentially given the space to not perform. And that's a huge deviation from the usual Hollywood path.
Where early visibility is everything. It's seen as necessary capital.
Right. And that protection seems to have resulted in what we're all seeing now.
Yeah, the initial hook that sparked this whole deep dive is that her most recent public moments, they aren't even grand spectacles.
Not at all.
They're these small, sometimes mundane sightings that are described as unguarded and deeply human.
Yes, and that is precisely why they resonate so much. They're not manufactured press events. They're glimpses. A theater visit, a street sighting with her mother.
And in those glimpses, the person we see looks authentic. She seems focused on the present moment, not on the cameras pointed at her.
Which really speaks to a successful strategy of protective development.
Okay, so let's unpack this core concept then. If quiet grace and authentic presence are the phrases the sources keep repeating, what does that actually look like in practice?
Well, it's interesting. The sources detail it almost entirely through negation, which you kind of mentioned earlier.
Through what she doesn't do.
Exactly. What she doesn't do is the story. When she's out, she does not perform for the camera. There's a total absence of that practiced, media-savvy body language we usually see in young celebrities.
You mean like no rehearsed smiles, no specific poses for the paparazzi?
None of that. Observers note that whether she's at a relatively high-profile Broadway event with her mother, which is a performative space by nature, or just walking down the street, she appears composed, gentle, and strikingly grounded. The critical phrase one source uses is that there is no sense of rehearsed confidence or cultivated image. She seems unaware, or maybe more powerfully, just indifferent to the lens.
I think that indifference is the key. Because most of us, when a camera is pointed at us, even just an iPhone, we immediately adjust.
We optimize.
We optimize. We curate that moment. To be 17 and be so consistently, unoptimized under that level of scrutiny is, as the sources claim, pretty radical.
And what's fascinating here is the impact of that non-performance on us, the audience. It actually translates into a really unusual form of power.
How so?
The sources describe her presence as soft but assured, She isn't trying to dominate the space. She's not trying to overshadow the event or even her mother. Yet she still commands attention simply by existing within it. She is just present. She's not performing, digital labor for our approval.
That concept of digital labor is so important here. For the average person, our social media lives often feel like work.
It's a job.
It's a job. We're constantly managing our personal brand, validating our choices, seeking approval through likes and comments. VJP seems to be operating completely outside of that framework.
Which is a luxury for sure, but it's also a choice. And that's the core aha moment for you, the listener. This kind of raw authenticity is described as almost radical in an age that's just dominated by curated personas.
And social media perfection.
Exactly. Her power isn't coming from her parents' status or some engineered image. It's coming from her genuine, uncultivated state of being. She's giving us a break from the optimization machine.
And that resonates so deeply because people, frankly, are fatigued by perfection.
Oh, exhausted.
We are exhausted by the constant stream of filtered, optimized, carefully constructed narratives. So when someone steps into the light and seems utterly unbothered by the need to be on, it feels like a revolutionary act.
A revolutionary act of self-acceptance. And that brings us directly to the next point. The intention behind it all. This isn't just accidental.
Exactly. This is where it gets really interesting. The sources link her presence directly to her upbringing. Angelina Jolie has been very public about prioritizing her children's privacy.
And crucially, their emotional well-being over, say, career opportunities.
And the sources make a really compelling connection there. They suggest that VJP's growth reflects that parental intention. She's growing into herself deliberately.
Which means she's been allowed to develop internally without that constant external pressure to, define her future prematurely.
She's been allowed to just be a developing young adult.
That intentional delay, the sources imply, is a profound statement against the industry norm.
It really is. She's almost 18 now, and we still don't have a clear career path being pushed on her. That is so unusual for a young person with her kind of access.
It is entirely unusual. This slow, intentional visibility is just in stark contrast to the industry's usual trajectory.
Which pushes the children of fame to become something, a brand ambassador, an actor, a model.
As quickly as possible, often while they're still minors. The pressure to capitalize on the family name is just enormous.
And you can often see it. They look visibly uncomfortable doing it. They're dressed in high fashion, reading lines, endorsing products, and you can just sense that they're being molded.
Right. But VJP's story, it suggests another path, a path where cultivating a robust inner life and where presence matters more than performance.
She's been given the space to figure out who she is, free from that immediate obligation to sell that identity to the rest of us. So let's go back to the public response. Why does the audience react so strongly to these really simple moments? It can't just be celebrity fascination.
No, it's something deeper.
So what is it about her that creates this unique admiration?
Well, the sources are clear. It's the profound lack of drama. The power isn't in a controversy or some big transformation.
It's in the small things.
It's in the subtle details. The fleeting smile, a calm posture, or, very specifically, the way she stands beside her mother.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, there's a note in the source material that she's observed standing not as a prop, but as an equal.
Not as a prop, but as an equal. Wow, that's a beautiful distinction.
Isn't it? A prop implies she's there just to enhance her mother's image.
But equal suggests she's there as her own person, a fully realized individual respected in that public space.
Exactly. And this deep public response is rooted in a broader cultural longing for sincerity. We are all so skeptical of polished narratives now, especially from Hollywood.
So moments that feel unfiltered and emotionally honest, they just hold this tremendous, almost restorative power for the audience.
We see her and we think, oh, a human being.
And that's the radical act, defined by what she doesn't do. Let's just summarize that negation because it's so powerful. She doesn't chase the spotlight.
She doesn't overshare. I mean, she has no public social media presence that we're aware of.
Right, and she doesn't seem to be seeking validation through all those external markers of success or, the beauty standards pushed on her generation.
And critically, she doesn't try to redefine herself for public approval on a daily basis. She is just present, developing steadily in the background.
That restraint, paradoxically, is what makes her so memorable.
It's a complete inversion of modern fame, isn't it?
Totally. She gains influence by opting out of the visibility competition. She commands respect by withholding, not by constantly publishing her every thought and move.
It's an active rejection of that mandate to be visible and performing at all times.
It is a deliberate choice of silence. And in a loud world, silence is often the loudest statement.
It implies control. And control is the ultimate marker of power when you're growing up under an international microscope.
So where does that leave us? What does this all mean?
I think it means that Vivienne Jolie-Pitt stands right on the verge of adulthood. And according to these sources, she represents a very specific, highly admired type of quiet strength. The sources define the most beautiful story here as witnessing someone grow with dignity, protected by love rather than driven by fame.
That really brings the whole argument home, doesn't it? She is proof that even in the most intense public lives you can imagine, it is still possible to prioritize growing up human.
And that quiet, unflattable humanity is exactly what people are responding to and admiring.
It's like a template for navigating celebrity without succumbing to all the noise.
Absolutely. Which leaves us with a final thought for you to mull over. Considering the source's emphasis on authenticity and restraint, how might the deliberate decision to not share or to not seek public approval, how might that be the single most powerful form of self-definition for a new generation that's trying to carve out an identity online? Is opting out the new way to win? That's certainly something worth thinking about long after this deep dive is done.